What is going on, everyone? It's Pat. We are back with our next video on Solana and Bitcoin. So let's jump right in. Today, I just wanted to give you a quick update on this Solana idea. We had this distribution that we were paying attention to. Now, this has been coming down ever since we started drawing this. And I see this down here. We took out the low, and it doesn't necessarily have to come down this far. And I'm going to tell you why. So when we open up our indicators here and we zoom in a bit, I'm starting to see this bullish divergence here. You have your low right here, and you have the lower low. And then on the indicators, you have the low right here and a higher low. So that's a bullish divergence on the daily, and that's a pretty big deal. So what we're looking for here is, at the very least, a temporary bounce of some sort. And what we're going to do is take a look at the liquidity and try to find out where that might end up. So let's go into our liquidity. As you can see on the liquidity, we have a whole bunch of short liquidity above us right now. And that's on the weekly. So in a longer term time frame, we are expecting this to start making its way back up and take out the majority of the liquidity, since the market always likes to go against the majority of people. The market makers like to take out as much money as they can. So our liquidity comes all the way up here until right around, the high leverage liquidity is right around 206, and then 212 is the end of all of it. So those are the places that we want to see our bounce head up to. Now, on the shorter term, what we're looking at is the daily here, and it goes up to around 182. But the big chunk of liquidity, it ends over here around 177.84. Now let's go back to our chart and compare that. So 177.84 is going to be about right where we are right now, actually. Let's zoom in a little bit. So you can see we've kind of just been consolidating upwards. We got this 4-hour STB buy signal. And right now this looks like it still wants to just keep doing what it's doing and start heading up a little further. So 177.84, that's right about here, which is also this order block. So we're going to put that there. That's 179. I guess it depends how you draw it, really. But this is a place that you're going to want to be paying attention to. So what we did here was we came down and we filled these two daily fair value gaps, and then we started getting a bounce off of them. Now, we have a couple daily fair value gaps above us that we want to be paying attention to as well. One of them, 185.93. And I'm pretty sure that actually lined up with some of our liquidity that we were looking at. 185, yeah, actually 182 I think was right around where the daily liquidity ended. But if you look over here, 185, well, that's not necessarily a place where I think it's gonna stop, but we might get a temporary rejection there. The other place that we're looking at for the daily fair value gaps, we have 192.50 and we have 228.02. So for liquidity, 192.50. Yeah, that takes out a pretty good chunk of our liquidity, and we already know that takes out all the daily short liquidity. So anyway, the fair value gaps are places that you want to be watching. You want to be watching the order blocks that cause the structure breaks, like this 199.60 right here. That's going to be a good place to keep an eye on. Not that one so much. And also we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a complete 5-wave structure here. Let me draw that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What we essentially want to see here is we're going to look for this to come back up into the golden pocket of the entire 5-wave structure. So we'll put that there. That's going to, let's delete this other one. That's going to be around 234.20. And at the same time, that falls right into the supply zone of wave 2. So you want to see it take out the wave 4 high. So essentially that's going to be right here around 220. And you also want to see it start taking out some of these highs too, if it's going to start coming back up. Now, obviously, I know we have our larger distribution here that we were watching, and I think that's still in the cards. We don't necessarily have to see a very big bounce here. We may see some kind of temporary bounce just to induce more people into going long so that we can continue down. Anyway, that's something you want to keep an eye out for. Be careful, because honestly, I know this is consolidating upwards right now, but this could honestly just like, and keep going down very easily. So you don't want to get too heavily into any longs right now. Make sure if you do take the longs that you get your stop in front of your entry and you take partials as soon as you're in profit. The other thing I want to remind you guys of is just how ugly this weekly looks. You obviously, we know we had these bearish divergences. We talked about that last time. The money flow is still curving out. So on a large time frame, it's not looking very good. But let's see what kind of levels for liquidity that we need to look out for below us. So on the weekly, this goes all the way down into the 155, 156 area, and the high leverage liquidity is around 160. On the daily, the big chunk of this goes right around 169, 170, and it completely fizzles out around 164, 165. So those are two places on the chart that you want to be watching below us. From the weekly standpoint, this distribution still looks like it could absolutely be valid. It actually looks like the most likely scenario right about now. Let's move over to Bitcoin now. One of the first things I'm noticing here on the weekly is how this VWAP down here is starting to curve back up. And obviously you can see that we're starting to get an upwards candle here on the weekly. When we move over to the daily here, you see down here we have this bullish divergence. That's a pretty big bullish divergence, and you don't usually see ones that are this clean on the daily. So that's definitely something we want to be watching. Last time we got a bullish divergence, it was back here. It was this, and we ended up getting this pump, which was about a 23% pump. So daily bullish divergences are no joke. Another thing I noticed on the daily is this money flow. It was red, but we crossed back green. And that's a very solid sign of strength. Now, something to look out for on Bitcoin, even though we do have that daily bullish divergence, we are at the top of this little channel that I had drawn, and we're getting a small rejection off of it. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. We just had the day reset, and that was about 4.5 hours ago. So we're going to have to see where this daily candle ends up taking us. Let's come over here and check out the Bitcoin liquidity. Now, on the weekly, I'm noticing that the shorts are actually very few compared to the longs. Bitcoin is very long heavy right now on the weekly. So what I'm looking at above us is first where the high leverage liquidity ends. That's right around 99.6K. And then where the rest of it fizzles out, which is around 102. So yeah, around 102,000. That's where you'd want to be paying attention. Now on the daily for the shorter term, it's a little more balanced, but it's still pretty long heavy. Now, you want to be watching where the big chunk of this ends, which is 99. It's around the same place, actually, 99.6K. Right around 100K is another place, and then 102. So essentially, it's the same place on the daily and the weekly liquidity that you want to be watching above us. Now, below us, we have a whole bunch of long liquidity, and the high leverage liquidity comes down to 92.7K, and the rest of it fizzles out around 89.9K. And on the daily, the large majority of it is down to 95.7K, 95.2K maybe even, and the rest of it fizzles out around 93.240. When we come back over to our chart, some of those liquidity levels that we were just talking about, you see I have this golden pocket here, and it comes from the top of here to here, and it's right at 102.4K, which is exactly where we were looking at on the liquidity above us. Now you also want to pay attention to the fair value gaps up here. We have a daily fair value gap around 103.280, and then we have a 4-hour fair value gap at 102.803. Now below us, we have a daily fair value gap at 96.8K. That daily fair value gap is actually a little bit higher than what we were looking at on the liquidity. However, when I come over here, I see high liquidity right here. If they were to take that out, that's around 96.2K. So it could come a little bit further than that daily fair value gap and give us a bounce. If you guys are interested in having the exact levels that I'm scalping on a daily basis, I have a private Discord server that I run, and the Patreon is in the link below if you want to join. Now, you could even see just yesterday, 6:30 a.m., nice looking rejection off our short level so far. The short level was 173.73, and then when we scroll down, what a perfect short that is. Looks like one of those W redistributions. Targets are down here. And you can see 173.73 came right up, rejected right off, and it was a perfect scalp. Here's the Patreon page if you're interested in joining. It's patreon.com/DigiLex. If you come on over to our website, which is digilex-llc.com, you can check out our most recent trade calls in Discord. We snipe levels every single day, and you can see a lot of them here. I post them all here for people to see after the fact. Now, you can see we were taking a shot on the short. We called the exact top here. We were watching this level overhead, came right up, rejected right off it. You could see on this one where it came right up into the short level, rejected perfectly. And I keep the receipts. I make sure I show you exactly where I posted it beforehand and then what happened. So make sure you come over here, scroll through the results, check out. If you liked what you see, maybe go over, check on the Patreon, and come on over and join us. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. If you guys want more technical analysis, crypto videos, Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment, let me know what you'd like to see in the future videos. Make sure you subscribe and put that bell on for the time sensitive updates. That'll do it for this video. I'll see you next time. Peace.